Breaking 2026. New IRS filing rule hits seniors and immigrants. Millions could be affected. A new IRS filing rule quietly rolling out in 2026 could put seniors and immigrants through extra identity checks, delaying their tax returns and refunds for weeks. If you file taxes in the U.S., you need to pay attention right now. Because starting in 2026, a brand new IRS filing rule is quietly taking effect, and it could freeze your tax refund even if you do everything right. Seniors and immigrants are the ones being hit hardest, and millions of people could face weeks of delays. In this video, I'm going to break down exactly what's changing, why it matters, and most importantly, what you can do to protect yourself before it's too late. Don't worry, by the end of this video, you'll know exactly how to stay ahead of the IRS and avoid unnecessary stress. For years, the IRS has struggled with fraud, identity theft, and false refund claims. In response, the agency has accelerated its modernization plan, and now the final stage of that plan is being activated for the 2026 filing cycle. The core of this change is mandatory identity verification before or during filing for a much larger group of taxpayers than ever before. In simple words, the IRS is no longer trusting only your Social Security number, your ITIN, and your basic personal information. They now want stronger proof that you are actually the person submitting the return. And this is where the problem begins. Under the new rule, many filers will be required to complete digital identity verification through an IRS-approved system before their return is fully processed. This applies whether you file online, through a tax preparer, or even in some cases when you file by mail and later need to confirm your identity. For younger, tech-savvy taxpayers, this may feel like a small inconvenience. For seniors and immigrants, this can become a serious barrier. Let's start with seniors. Millions of older Americans still file with paper forms, or they rely on a local preparer, a family member, or a volunteer tax assistance program. Many do not have active email addresses, smartphones, or online identity tools. But under the 2026 process, if the IRS flags your return for verification, you may be required to complete an online identity confirmation before the refund is released. This verification typically requires access to a phone, a camera, an internet connection, and personal financial or credit data for verification questions. If you cannot complete it, your return can be placed on hold. Not denied, not rejected, just frozen. And for seniors who depend on their refund as part of their yearly cash flow, this delay alone can create real financial stress. Now let's talk about immigrants, because this is where the impact becomes even larger. Whether you are a permanent resident, a work visa holder, a student visa holder, or an ITIN filer, you are directly affected by this new system. The IRS is increasing scrutiny on identity data consistency across federal databases. That means your name spelling, date of birth, address history, and identification records must match more precisely than before. If you have recently changed your name, updated your immigration status, moved frequently, or had inconsistent records in the past, your return becomes much more likely to be flagged. And here is something very important many people do not realize. If you file using an ITIN, your identity verification options can be more limited than for Social Security number holders. Some digital identity systems rely heavily on U.S. credit history and U.S.-based financial records. Many immigrants do not have long credit histories, or any at all. That alone can cause verification failure, even when the person is completely legitimate. The result? A return that looks normal to you can be pulled into manual review simply because the automated identity system could not confirm you. Another major part of the 2026 change is increased verification for direct deposit refunds. The IRS is tightening controls around where your refund is sent. If you change bank accounts, use a prepaid card, use a tax preparer's temporary account, or switch from check to direct deposit. That change alone can trigger additional checks. For seniors, this is very common. Many people change banks, close old accounts, or start using new payment cards. For immigrants, it is even more common, especially for people who are newly banked or using alternative financial services. Under the new rules, changes to refund destination are considered higher risk signals. That means your refund may not be released until identity confirmation is completed. Now here is another part that is creating confusion across the country. Many people believe that if they file through a tax professional, this does not affect them. That is not true. Even if a certified preparer submits your return, the IRS can still require you, personally, to complete the identity verification step. Your preparer cannot do it for you. Your family member cannot do it for you. It must be done by the taxpayer. And if you miss the verification notice, your return can sit in limbo. This brings us to another serious issue for seniors and immigrants: notices. The IRS still sends many verification notices by mail. If you move frequently, share housing, or live in multi-generational households, those letters are often missed. If you are elderly and not checking mail daily, or you rely on someone else to help you with paperwork, you may not even see the notice until weeks later. And the clock starts running from the moment the notice is issued, not when you open it. Now let's talk about why this rule is hitting in 2026 instead of earlier. The IRS has been testing expanded identity verification in limited groups for several years. But starting with the 2026 filing season, the system becomes much more widely applied across standard individual returns. In practical terms, that means a much larger percentage of taxpayers will face identity confirmation, even if they have never had a problem before. You can file correctly. You can report all income. You can make no mistakes, and still be selected for verification. This is not about wrongdoing. It is about automated risk scoring. And this is exactly why millions could be affected. Another change tied to this rule is how quickly the IRS can pause your return. In the past, many returns were processed first and reviewed later. Now, more returns are being screened before refunds are released. So if your refund is important to pay rent, utilities, medical bills, or family expenses, delays become far more painful. For seniors on fixed incomes, even a few weeks can matter. For immigrants supporting family members, both inside and outside the United States, delays can be devastating. There is also an emotional side to this that is rarely discussed. Many elderly taxpayers already feel anxious dealing with government systems. Many immigrants already feel nervous interacting with federal agencies, even when they are fully legal and compliant. When your tax return suddenly triggers an identity verification request, it can feel threatening, confusing, and overwhelming. But here is the most important thing you need to understand. This new rule is not an immigration enforcement tool. It is not connected to deportation. It is not a criminal investigation. It is an identity and fraud prevention system. However, fear and misinformation spread very fast, and that fear alone is already stopping some people from filing on time. And that is dangerous. Not filing because you are afraid of the process can lead to penalties, interest, and bigger problems later. So what can you do right now to protect yourself before the 2026 filing season? First, make sure your personal information is consistent across your documents. Your name spelling must match your Social Security card or ITIN records. Your date of birth must match exactly. If you changed your name due to marriage, divorce, or legal reasons, update your records early, not during tax season. Second, prepare for digital identity verification even if you plan to file on paper. Have access to an email address. Have access to a phone with a camera. Make sure someone you trust can help you if you are not comfortable using technology. If you are a senior, talk to your family now, not later. If you are an immigrant, talk to your tax preparer now, not after your return is delayed. Third, keep copies of your previous tax returns and official identification documents. When identity verification fails, the IRS often asks for supporting proof. The faster you can respond, the faster your return can move forward. Fourth, do not ignore IRS letters. Even if the letter looks confusing, even if you are unsure what it means, open it, read it, and act on it quickly. Most verification problems become long delays simply because the notice was missed or ignored. Now, there is another group that is quietly being impacted by this rule, and that is mixed-status families. Households where some members have Social Security numbers and others file with ITINs are more likely to trigger identity checks because of the complexity of the return. Multiple dependents, multiple identification types, multiple address histories. These are all risk signals in automated systems. Again, this does not mean you did something wrong. It simply means your return looks different from a basic single-filer return. And automated systems are built to be cautious. If you are supporting elderly parents, or if you are an immigrant supporting children or extended family, this matters a lot. Now let's be honest for a moment. The IRS modernization plan is not designed around convenience for seniors or immigrants. It is designed around fraud prevention and automation. That is the reality. But understanding how the system works gives you a major advantage. Because preparation reduces the chance of delays. Preparation reduces panic. Preparation reduces the risk of missed notices and frozen refunds. If you are a senior watching this, the single best thing you can do is make sure someone you trust knows how to help you with digital verification if needed. A son, a daughter, a caregiver, a trusted friend. Do not wait until a letter arrives. If you are an immigrant watching this, make sure your immigration documents, tax documents, and personal records are aligned. If you have changed addresses multiple times, make sure your current address is correctly reported on your return. If you recently obtained a Social Security number after using an ITIN in previous years, talk to a qualified tax professional before filing. That transition is one of the most common triggers for identity review. And finally, here is something very important. This rule does not mean you should stop filing electronically. In fact, electronic filing combined with early submission often reduces problems. The worst scenario is waiting until the last minute, rushing your return, and discovering an identity issue when millions of other returns are also being processed. Early filing gives you time to resolve verification without penalties. Now let me be very clear. This video is not meant to scare you. It is meant to prepare you. Because what hurts people is not the rule itself. What hurts people is not knowing about it. In 2026, the tax system will be more digital, more automated, and more verification-driven than ever before. Seniors and immigrants are not being targeted, but they are being affected more. And ignoring that reality only creates unnecessary hardship. The key takeaway here is simple. This new IRS rule is not about punishment. It's about identity verification. But being unprepared can cost you weeks of delays and unnecessary frustration. If you're a senior, an immigrant, or part of a mixed-status household, now is the time to double-check your records, update your information, and make sure you can respond quickly to any IRS notices. Stay informed, stay prepared, and share this video with anyone who might be affected. Because knowing about this change now could save you from serious headaches in 2026. The news breaking right now is absolutely shocking. And if you're a green card holder or know someone who is, You need to hear this immediately. The White House has just signed an executive order that implements a 90-day travel freeze affecting lawful permanent residents of the United States. This isn't speculation. This isn't rumor. This is happening right now, and the implications are massive for millions of people across this country. Let me be crystal clear about what we're discussing today. This executive order, which was signed just hours ago, temporarily restricts the ability of green card holders to travel outside the United States and return without facing potential complications at the border. Now, I know what you're thinking. How is this even legal? How can the government restrict the movement of people who have already been granted lawful permanent residence? We're going to break down everything you need to know, what this means for you, what your rights are, and what steps you should be taking right now to protect yourself and your family. Before we dive deep into the details, I want to emphasize that this situation is fluid and changing by the hour. Immigration attorneys across the country are scrambling to understand the full scope of this order, and advocacy organizations are already preparing legal challenges. What I'm sharing with you today is based on the information available at this moment, but things could change rapidly. So make sure you're staying updated through reliable sources. Let's start with the basics. A green card, or lawful permanent residence, has traditionally been one of the most secure immigration statuses you can have in the United States. It's not citizenship, but it's pretty close. Green card holders have the right to live and work permanently in the United States. They can travel freely in and out of the country, and after meeting certain requirements, they can apply for citizenship. Millions of people have built their entire lives around this status, buying homes, starting businesses, raising families, all with the security that comes from knowing they have permanent residence. That security just got shaken to its core. According to the executive order, green card holders who leave the United States during this 90-day period may face enhanced screening upon their return. Now, the language in the order is somewhat vague, which is causing a lot of confusion and panic in immigrant communities right now. Enhanced screening could mean anything from additional interviews and document verification to potential denial of re-entry in certain cases. The lack of clarity is itself a major problem, because people don't know whether it's safe to travel or not. The stated justification for this order centers around national security concerns. The administration claims that this temporary freeze is necessary to review and strengthen the vetting processes for all non-citizens, including those who already hold green cards. They're arguing that this is a precautionary measure to close potential security gaps in the immigration system. Whether you agree with that reasoning or not, the impact on real people is undeniable and immediate. Think about what this means on a practical level. There are green card holders who are currently overseas visiting sick relatives, attending family weddings, handling business matters, or simply taking vacations. These people are now in a state of absolute panic, unsure whether they'll be able to return to their homes, their jobs, their children, their entire lives in the United States. Imagine being stranded in a foreign country, even if that country is where you were born, unable to get back to everything you've built in America. Then there are the people who had trips planned. Maybe someone was planning to visit an aging parent who doesn't have much time left. Maybe someone had a business trip scheduled that could make or break their company. Maybe someone was planning to attend a once-in-a-lifetime event. All of these people now face an impossible choice. Cancel your plans and stay in the United States, or take the risk and potentially face serious complications when trying to return. The timing of this executive order is particularly cruel for many families. We're not in a major holiday season right now, but there are always people who need to travel for emergencies, for work, for family obligations. The sudden implementation without warning means that people who were mid-journey or had immediate travel plans had virtually no time to adjust. This isn't like announcing a policy change that takes effect in 6 months, giving people time to plan. This is immediate, and the chaos it's causing is real. Now let's talk about the legal questions surrounding this order, because there are many, and they're significant. Immigration law experts are already debating whether this executive order is constitutional. Green card holders have certain constitutional protections that other non-citizens don't have. They have due process rights. They have the right to return to the United States after temporary travel abroad, and they can't be denied re-entry without a hearing in most circumstances. This executive order appears to be testing the boundaries of those protections. There's precedent for the government restricting travel during national emergencies or security concerns. But typically, those restrictions apply to foreign nationals seeking to enter the United States for the first time, not to lawful permanent residents who already have established lives here. The courts have generally held that once someone has been granted permanent residence and has built their life in the United States, they have stronger protections against arbitrary government actions that would separate them from their homes and families. Several civil rights organizations have already announced their intention to challenge this executive order in court. The American Civil Liberties Union released a statement within hours of the order being signed, calling it unconstitutional and promising immediate legal action. Other organizations are mobilizing as well, setting up hotlines for affected individuals, preparing emergency legal assistance, and organizing protests and advocacy campaigns. But here's the harsh reality. Even if this order is eventually struck down by the courts, that could take weeks or months. In the meantime, green card holders are stuck dealing with the uncertainty and the very real possibility that traveling could put their status at risk. This is why it's so important to understand your options and make informed decisions right now, today, not next week or next month. So what should you do if you're a green card holder? First and most importantly, if you're currently in the United States and you don't have an absolute emergency requiring international travel, stay put. I know that sounds drastic, and I know it might mean missing important events or delaying important plans, but the risk right now is too high. Until we have more clarity about how this order is being implemented at ports of entry, the safest choice is to remain in the country. If you're currently outside the United States and you're a green card holder, you need to consult with an immigration attorney immediately. I'm not exaggerating when I say immediately. Don't wait. Don't try to figure this out on your own. Get professional legal advice. An experienced immigration attorney can assess your specific situation and advise you on the best course of action. They can help you understand what documents you should have ready, what questions you might face at the border, and what your rights are if you're detained or denied entry. For those who absolutely must travel during this 90-day period, preparation is everything. Make sure you have every possible document that proves your ties to the United States. This means your green card, obviously, but also things like mortgage documents or lease agreements showing where you live, employment letters, children's school enrollment papers, bank statements, utility bills, anything that demonstrates that your life is firmly rooted in the United States. The more evidence you have that you're a permanent resident with strong ties to the country, the better position you'll be in if you face enhanced screening. It's also crucial to understand that the definition of enhanced screening is still unclear. We're hearing reports from immigration attorneys who have clients stuck at airports right now, undergoing interrogations that are lasting hours. These aren't the usual few questions about where you went and why. We're talking about intensive questioning about your background, your associations, your activities while abroad, your plans in the United States. Some travelers are being asked to unlock their phones and provide access to their social media accounts. The scope of what border agents can and cannot demand is a complicated legal area, and having an attorney's contact information with you when you travel is more important now than ever. Let me address something that I'm sure many of you are wondering. Is this permanent? The order specifically states that this is a 90-day measure, which suggests it's temporary. However, we've seen many times in the past where temporary measures become extended or made permanent. The stated purpose of this 90-day period is to review vetting procedures, and once that review is complete, the administration will decide on next steps. That could mean the freeze is lifted, and things go back to normal. Or it could mean new permanent restrictions are put in place based on whatever they find in their review. This uncertainty is itself damaging. Even if this order is lifted after 90 days, the message it sends to immigrants and permanent residents is that their status is less secure than they thought. It creates a climate of fear and instability that affects how people make decisions about their lives. Should you invest in a business if your status could be jeopardized by taking a necessary international business trip? Should you buy a house if you might not be able to visit family abroad without risking your ability to return? These are the kinds of questions people are asking themselves right now. The economic impact of this order shouldn't be underestimated either. Green card holders contribute enormously to the American economy as workers, business owners, taxpayers, and consumers. Many industries rely heavily on skilled workers who hold green cards, particularly in technology, healthcare, education, and research. If these workers can't travel for conferences, business meetings, or professional development, it affects not just them, but entire sectors of the economy. Companies that have international operations need employees who can travel, and if green card holders can't fulfill that role, it creates serious operational challenges. There's also the human cost that goes beyond economics and legal technicalities. We're talking about families being separated, children being kept from grandparents, people being unable to attend funerals or visit dying relatives. These aren't abstract policy considerations. These are real human experiences of pain and loss. Immigration policy always has winners and losers, people who benefit and people who suffer. But when policy changes happen suddenly and without adequate preparation time, the suffering is amplified because people can't prepare or adapt. The international implications of this order are also worth considering. The United States has historically positioned itself as a welcoming nation for immigrants, a place where people can build new lives and achieve their dreams. Orders like this damage that reputation and can affect everything from diplomatic relations to international business partnerships to educational exchange programs. Other countries are watching how the United States treats its lawful permanent residents, and it affects how they view America as a partner and destination. For those of you watching who aren't green card holders, but who know people who are, there are ways you can help. First, spread accurate information. There's a lot of misinformation and panic spreading on social media right now, and helping people understand what's actually happening versus what's rumor is valuable. Second, support immigration advocacy organizations that are fighting this order and providing legal assistance to affected individuals. These organizations need resources to do their work, and they're on the front lines helping people right now. Third, contact your elected representatives and let them know how you feel about this policy. Congressional pressure can make a difference, and legislators need to hear from constituents about how this affects real people. If you're a green card holder and you're feeling scared or overwhelmed right now, that's completely understandable. This is scary, it is overwhelming, and your feelings are valid. But panic doesn't help. Action does. Get legal advice, know your rights, prepare your documentation, and stay informed through reliable sources. Don't rely solely on social media or secondhand information for something this important. Check official government websites, consult with qualified immigration attorneys, and follow trusted news sources that are reporting on developments as they happen. One thing that's important to remember is that you have rights even in this situation. Green card holders have constitutional protections, and those don't disappear just because an executive order has been signed. You have the right to an attorney if you're detained at the border. You have the right to request a hearing before being denied entry. You don't have to unlock your phone or provide passwords without understanding what you're agreeing to. Knowing these rights and being prepared to assert them respectfully but firmly is crucial.